Welcome to Capture the World with Dee. Interviews with companies and individuals to learn more about digitally capturing the built world. Video, drone, 3D tours, pictures, panoramas, and more. And now your host, a social influencer and community activist, Dee Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Capture the World with Dee. I'm your host, Dee Johnson. I hope you're all doing well this fine Tuesday morning because I have an exciting guest. Today, joining us is the head of marketing for Canvas, the makers of a blazing fast 3D capture app for interior spaces. I think some of you will know some of the people that he works with, but without further ado, please help me welcome Ben Pediakowski. Hold on, Ben. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hi, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And you did an excellent job pronouncing my last name. Not
Yep.
always easy.
We had a practice session yesterday, but don't tell anyone.
Except when I asked you to guess, you were like 98% of the way there, which is better than most people do. So that was very impressive.
All right. So, Ben, you work for this company called Canvas. Let's start out by having you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up there.
Absolutely. So I've got a weird background when it comes to technology marketing. I basically consider myself a storyteller. I went to USC Film School and worked in the entertainment industry for about over a decade, working in television development. Worked at HBO and NBC, and at a company that produced a bunch of shows for Netflix like Narcos and F is for Family. Then switched into marketing, worked with Hollywood and a bunch of nonprofits such as the Alzheimer's Association, the UN Foundation, and then made my way to Colorado, where I worked for the organization behind the Beef It's What's for Dinner campaign before joining Occipital through actually a connection I had through my Hollywood days. But I was really excited about the opportunity about telling the story of this cutting edge technology that helps people save time and money when it comes to home improvement.
Cool. All right. So, a very amazing and admirable past.
Thank you.
All right. So, you joined Occipital or Canvas. So,
Yes.
So, what's the difference between Occipital and Canvas? Tell us that sort of relationship.
Absolutely. So Occipital is the parent company of Canvas. Occipital was actually founded back in 2008. And what the company does is it has a history of taking whatever's at the frontier of computer vision technology and turning it into consumer-ready mobile products. So our first product in 2009 was Red Laser, which was the first barcode reading app for the iPhone. And that was before you could do it, through the camera app. And that was acquired by eBay. And then our next program was 360 Panorama, which was the first panorama capture app for iOS. So you think about these technologies that we sort of were on the frontier of, and now they're part of every iPhone. And then in 2013, we launched the structure sensor, which was the first depth sensor that could be attached to mobile devices.
Yep.
It was a wildly successful Kickstarter campaign that raised over $1.3 million. And what it does is it gave everyday iPhones and iPads, or really iPads, the ability to capture depth, which used to cost, involved equipment that cost over $10,000. And this made it available to consumers and prosumers.
Yep.
Then in 2016, we launched Canvas, which basically leveraged that structure sensor to bring 3D mapping to the iPad. And then I think the biggest jump that we experienced was last year when Apple started including an embedded LiDAR sensor on first the iPad Pro, and then in October on the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max. And so you no longer need to buy a structure sensor. You can just download and start scanning.
Yay. And that opens up this whole new world.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't a huge obstacle, but we heard from our customers, you had to purchase a device, you had to install it, you had to calibrate it. It was extra steps, it was extra friction that you had to get into scanning. And now all you need to do is download the app for free from the App Store, and you can start scanning spaces like a professional.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about Canvas.
Absolutely. So Canvas is, as you said, a blazing fast interior space capturing app. It leverages the LiDAR sensor, or if you do have an older iPhone, it can work as well, not to the same degree of accuracy, but it allows you to capture a 3D mesh of a space, and then you can move around that space as if you were there. You can capture measurements, and it basically creates this a shareable map of a space. But I think the real special sauce that the real secret thing, not secret thing, but the special thing that Canvas does that no one else on the market does is we can then take those scans and create professional grade CAD files in formats like SketchUp, Revit, Chief Architect, 2020 Design, AutoCAD, and we can even do 2D floor plans. And it takes about 2 business days for us to turn that around. Can be a little bit longer if you've got a much larger space that you've scanned. But basically, you think about all the time you used to spend measuring and modeling a home, could probably take half a day to a day to measure it, because we're not talking just about the overall room dimensions, but everything like windows and doors, HVAC registers, electrical outlets, electrical switches. All of that gets recorded by Canvas, and all of those details are included in the 3D CAD files that we create for you.
So what I heard while I was at Matterport a lot was people wanted to scan commercial buildings like stores, retail stores, and they wanted to know where's every outlet, how high are they, all that. Matterport can't do that for you. So this is a better solution for that use case, right?
Absolutely. And while we are focused on residential interiors, we have customers who use it to scan offices, warehouses, industrial facilities, data centers. And so it absolutely can be used for that use case you described. The one thing to be clear about is the camera and the LiDAR sensor have to be able to see the electrical outlet. So if you've got furniture in front of it, if you've got fixtures in front of it, it's not like Canvas or a LiDAR sensor or any device on the market can see through that to see the electrical outlets, if that's what you're primarily interested in. But you can, anything that's visible will be mapped and included in the models that we create.
So a lot of times I see these retail stores, and I'm thinking about the little ones in like these strip malls where it's just like a rectangular room, and you have to build it out to whatever you need, right? So you put in walls and all that. So this is perfect for that. You go in there, it's basically this bare canvas, right? It's an empty room. You scan that, and then you can have somebody actually design what it's going to look like, right? And where to, how to build things, and then draw up the blueprints from that.
Exactly. And I think you sort of touched on where the name comes from. The idea is we create a blank canvas for you to design your improvements to the space. And so we find most of our customers, but not all obviously, are in the remodeling industry and renovation. So if you're updating kitchens and baths or whole homes, or in interior designers, they are another clear use case where they need a canvas to plan their renovations as well as design choices and furniture. And so we can create that model. A lot of home interior designers use SketchUp, so we can deliver that SketchUp file, and then you can create and put in all the furniture and accents that you want to into that space.
Like a dollhouse, but in virtual.
Exactly. And you can even before you go to that CAD file, you basically get a dollhouse view of the property that you scanned. So we find that people, especially in this time of COVID, where people don't want strangers in their house for long periods of time, instead of crawling around with a tape measure or laser distance measure, getting all those, you can scan the space and then go back and you can move around it as if you were still there. So if you need to refresh your memory about what that space looked like, that's something that Canvas can help with very easily.
So 2 things. One, the fact that I mentioned the name of your company without even thinking about it means that you've named it very well.
Well, thank you. I can't take credit for that.
But no, seriously.
I'm still relatively new.
So that's a good thing, right? And then, so what about accuracy?
That's a great question. Accuracy with a LiDAR sensor is about 98 to 99% of what you would manually, what you could verify with a manual measurement or a laser distance measure. And so, you know, if you are, that is one of the spaces where if you are scanning a large warehouse, 1 to 2% can add up if you're talking about a building that's, you know, hundreds of feet wide.
Sure.
So you can break the scans into smaller segments to preserve that accuracy as you go along. And as I mentioned, if you have a device without a LiDAR sensor, so if you're using an iPhone 8 or above, accuracy is closer to 95%. So if you are doing interior design, you may not need super precise accuracy if you're not doing built-ins or something like that, and you're just looking for a place to place furniture. You could use an older iPhone. However, if you are using, if you are planning on using Canvas in your remodeling or professionally, we really recommend investing in an iPad Pro, the one released last year, as well as, or an iPhone 12 or Pro or Pro Max, because that will give you significantly more accuracy.
Does it matter which device you use? Is one better than the other?
One's not better than the other. Currently, the scanning experience is slightly different on the iPad versus the iPhone, but we're planned by the end of the month or so to have the same experience. But essentially, with an iPad, you walk around the space. I've got one right here, and you move it up and down as if you were painting the walls as you walk around the perimeter. With the iPhone, you stand as close to the center of the room as you can and basically spin around and move your phone up and down. In the short term, it is a slightly different experience, but those will be very similar very, very shortly. And, you know, it depends. If you are in the market for a new iPhone and you are going to plan on using Canvas, I definitely spring for one of the Pro models. And same as, you know, if you are looking to buy a new iPad, I'd buy the new iPad Pro to do that. And we have I know that the new iPad will probably be released in the next few weeks, and I would anticipate that that would continue to have the LiDAR sensor, since I think there are a lot of apps that are being built to take advantage of this technology, as I'm sure you featured on your show, and everything from artificial or AR, VR applications. So there's a lot that can be done with those sensors.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So if you don't already have one of those devices, it's always good to invest in that, especially if you're going into the business. Now, if I'm going to be remodeling my kitchen and I scan with Canvas, can I use that scan to order my built-in cabinets, or is that risky?
So for places where there are critical measurements, like with cabinetry or countertops, we do recommend taking a manual measurement to verify. What you can do after you submit your scan is send an email to support@canvas.io with any manual drawing or measurements that you've captured that you want us to integrate into that Cad model that we produce. So what we can do is basically override what was captured with LiDAR and say, this wall is exactly 10 feet, 3 inches, and 3/16. And typically most kitchen and bathroom professionals, if they are ordering cabinetry, they almost always insist on taking their own measurements anyway, because error with countertops or cabinets is extremely costly to fix and slow down the process. So in most cases, though, the people doing the cabinets or the countertops will come and take their own measurements anyway. But for those critical measurements, we do recommend capturing that manually. But all the other measurements, Canvas can save you the time of taking those.
Like windows, curtains for windows.
Yeah, curtains for windows are probably, you know, a 1 to 2% accuracy tolerance isn't going to be an issue for curtains.
Well, I mean, even built-ins, there's some wiggle room because you have the like the thing around the edges that hides. Excuse me. So I don't know if I would put in a countertop, but you kind of have to come in and create a template for the countertop anyway.
Absolutely. And what this will do is give you the overall dimensions of the space, as well as the locations of electrical outlets and that type of thing. So even if you do have to take a few manual measurements, our customers tell us Canvas still saves them a drastic amount of time.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Do you want to show us, like, so when you're scanning, you see the point cloud being created, right, as you scan?
So what you see is there's sort of a white overlay that goes over what's been captured and what remains to be captured. So as you're going through what's been done and what hasn't. And as soon as you're finished with that scan, basically you can see a model. And if you missed spaces, you could rescan to basically do a better job. But what I can do is pull up, I've got a scan I've done. Let me share the screen if I'm able to.
Yes, should be. Here we go.
So this is a scan of a kitchen that I did. And as you can see, you can move around the space as if you were there. You can do an overhead view. So the original scan will look like this, which is uncolorized. Sorry, I had been taking some measurements earlier.
Wait, I'm not seeing that.
You're not seeing anything on the screen?
I see the model, but I don't see it moving or you changing anything.
Let me go back to Zoom and reshare that. I don't know what happened there.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay.
So I switched it to a different screen and that may have affected it. So this is the original scan that you get immediately.
And this is the feedback you get while you're scanning, which is nice. You need to get feedback when you're scanning, so you know what data you've captured and what you haven't. So this is key.
And so where you see white, that was not captured. And since I'm relatively short, I couldn't get on top of the cabinets, which is what you see here. And then you get this reprocessed model, which is colorized. And again, you can sort of look at it from an overhead view, and then you can zoom in and move around the space as if you were there.
So what's really nice about this is that you're not limited to scan points. Like you can literally go anywhere.
Yes, you can literally move around the space, and then you can measure it as if you were there. So, and it will snap to axes. So you can measure that. You can also, let's say we wanted to measure the size of this window. You can click, it'll zoom in for maximum accuracy. And then, let's see, I think I missed it slightly. But as you can see, essentially, you can measure things as if you were there.
Cool.
And then you can even see them when you move into the overhead view, those numbers are there. But I'll show you what I think is sort of the real special sauce, as I mentioned earlier, which is that CAD model. And keep in mind, this is just viewable within the app, but the real CAD file that you would get delivered, you can open up and modify as if you had built the file yourself in SketchUp or Revit Chief Architect. And so this really shows the level of detail of the model that was captured. And so you can see even little things like, oh, here's 4 electrical switches, and there's an outlet, and there's a cover plate over a junction box that doesn't even have a switch. And so all of these details are included and modeled, which if you are here to renovate is perfect. And within the apps, everything's grouped into the proper layers and levels as if they were created from scratch. So you could immediately turn off all the cabinetry and all the cabinets would disappear within that app, or the countertops, or the electrical outlets. So everything is basically modifiable as if it had been made itself. And as you can see here, you've got the vent hood was captured. So it's the level of detail is really impressive. Although I am slightly biased, but I think your followers would agree.
So this is great. Like I was remodeling a home I owned at one point, and it would have been nice to have a 3D model of the home and then to visualize what the new room that I was adding would look like.
Exactly. And that's what it allows our customers to do. I think in the age of HGTV and all of these other do-it-yourself network, all those types of shows, people expect a 3D rendering of the project. And I think for a lot of smaller remodelers, they don't necessarily have the ability to create models on their own. They don't have that time.
Yep.
And what Canvas does is it allows us to create that for you so you can just focus on the improvements you plan to make. And one of the things I think I haven't touched on yet is the pricing. So the app is free to download. The scans, it's free to scan. What we do charge for is converting those models, generating the CAD models from the scans. And so we charge 15 cents a square foot for any of our 3D output options. So if you're doing a 2,000 square foot house, that'll be $300. And for our 2D plans, and so that includes either an AutoCAD file as well as PDF floor plans, those are priced at 10 cents a square foot. So it's pretty affordable, especially when you take into account how long it would take you to measure, capture all that data, and then go into those programs and model it yourself.
But if you get the 3D version, you automatically get the floor plan, right?
It depends on, you won't necessarily get the PDF floor plan. You'll get the 3D file, and then using those programs, typically you can create a floor plan from those programs. So you basically get their packages of files. So if you get the SketchUp package, it includes a DWG file, which can be pulled into other programs as well. So you get a few different file types with each output.
What if I don't want the CAD files? What if I just want this point cloud that you showed earlier?
So that you can actually export from the app for free. There's a slightly different way of doing it on both the iPad and iPhone right now, but it's not a point cloud, just to be fully transparent. It's an OBJ file that you would get. But you could scan, I think one of the questions we get sometimes is, can I do scan to CAD myself? And the answer is you can, but depending on the economics of your business, it's probably not worth it, because the investment of time it takes to export it, manually pull it into the program you want to create the CAD file in, and then trace over all of the elements is extremely time consuming. And so our process uses a mix of AI as well as specialized tooling that we've created, so that we're able to do it much faster and probably much more economically viable than it would be for you to do it yourself. But if you wanted that scan for creating a game or doing something in VR or experimentation, you can absolutely use the app for that as well.
And I think as time goes on and sort of technology gets better, that OBJ file, which is basically, it looks like a Matterport dollhouse, but not as clean, if you will, it's going to get better and better.
Absolutely. And I think we're constantly evolving our texturing capabilities, and as the LiDAR sensors continue to get more and more accurate, I think you'll continue to see the technology evolve. It's not like we've gotten to a place where we're said we're happy and we're done. It's sort of we're looking to see if there are new outputs we can support, and if there are new capture technologies, and basically evolving as technology continues to improve, as AI and machine learning continue to get more powerful.
Absolutely. I could totally see this replacing Matterport like in 5 to 10 years. That you won't have to scan at point. You'll just take a continuous scan with an iPad or an iPhone. So this is the new way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so, I think I've shown the model. Oops, sorry there. In one of our videos, what you could do is move this arch. You could reconfigure the space, redo the cabinets. As far as I know, we're the only provider of this sort of turnkey scan to CAD process that's available to consumers as well as smaller construction professionals. Obviously, if you are scanning an airport or a large facility, they have scanners that cost upwards of $50,000 that are able to do that type of thing. This makes that affordable, and we're dedicated to democratizing computer vision technology and bringing it to as many people as possible at price points that allow them to get all the benefits of this cutting edge technology without hours or weeks of specialized training.
So there is something that's kind of special about Occipital and Canvas, if you will. So my thing is, if you have smart people behind you and smart engineers, smart everybody, because you need everybody to make the company work, you're going to get a really good product. You're going to get a better product, right? And if you have the right attitude and the right culture within the company, it just will take you even further. So I believe, I don't know how many people know, but the CEO of GOCV, Anton, is actually a member of Occipital, correct?
Yes, he's one of our vice presidents of product on the augmented home side, which includes Canvas.
So an amazing guy, brilliant. So if you get people like that are working behind the scenes and doing stuff like this, because GOCV was amazing, right? It was going to take over Matterport. You get this great product, and then he has this great personality where he's not out just to mess with people to get money or whatever. He truly cares, right? And you can see that passion in him. And I think a lot of that is translated into sort of the culture that you're describing, that we're here to help people, right? And make people's lives easier, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think I'm surrounded by brilliant people all day, which makes it that much more exciting to work with them. I feel like I learn something new almost every day. And I think that that wanting to help people permeates the company. I brag all the time about our customer service team, but I think that our customer support is the best that you'll find anywhere. We know that this is new technology for most of our users, and it can be intimidating. And you're talking about terms that people may not be familiar with: point clouds, OBJ files, LiDAR. It's a lot, especially if you have an established way of working. And so I think we go above and beyond to try to hold our customers' hands. One of the things that we offer to do before you submit a scan to CAD order is we'll review your scan to let you know if there are any issues that may have happened as you were capturing that file or capturing that space that could negatively impact the scan to CAD process. And so, and we do that both for new customers who haven't scanned before, as well as existing customers who may have done a lot of scans, but they might be scanning a space that is intimidating and that they haven't scanned before. And we're happy to give advice and walk you through it and review your scan to make sure that you feel like you're making the right investment in that scan to CAD order.
So what if I scan like a house and I forget part of it? Can I add to that same scan, or do I start a new one?
You can always start a new scan, and we can merge that together for your CAD file. What won't happen, at least currently, is we won't merge the scan itself. So that colorized model we showed, that would be its own separate model, but we can integrate that together to create a global model of that home or building that you have done.
And so you can't add to an existing one?
No, not currently. But ultimately, for most of our customers, what they are interested in getting is that CAD file, and that we can merge together. And so one of the things we always suggest is, or sort of recommends very strongly, is you open up all the doors to the spaces. So if you are scanning a bedroom, we know how that bedroom connects to the hallway. Otherwise, we might have to our algorithms may have to make some informed guesses.
Right. Cool. It's such a cool product. In fact, okay, little secret. When I was working at Pediakowski, the problem they had was accuracy, because they were just taking video with a phone. It was not accurate. And I kept telling them, you need to get this structure IO, because at that point there wasn't the camera with the iPad with LiDAR. And I'm like, we need to have one of these devices and stick it on the iPad or the iPhone, because this is where it makes a difference, right?
Absolutely.
So I was championing your product from the very get-go.
Well, I appreciate that. And even a pre-Occipital employed Ben appreciates your advocacy for the company. So I appreciate that.
And I love Anton. I've met him a few times. Just a wonderful guy. So hopefully one day I'll work with him, but who knows? But yes, I'm very excited for you, and I'm very excited for Canvas.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. My email address for your viewers is ben@canvas.io.
And the website?
And our website is canvas.io. So I encourage you to visit us, check us out. We have a sample data package that people can download, so you can see what our CAD files look like when what they're created, so you can play around with them in your output of choice and see if it works for you, because I think it probably will.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see way more of you guys in the near future. And you'll have to come back when you do more new stuff. Promise?
Absolutely. I promise. As soon as we have new features, something to talk about, I will be back.
Yay. All right. And say hi to Anton.
I will.
All right. This has been Capture the World with Dee. I've been talking to Ben Pediakowski from Canvas. He's the head of marketing there. If you need more information, it's ben@canvas.io. The website is canvas.io. Check them out. All right, Ben, thanks you so much for joining. I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.